So here is a short idea. I hope you're all having a wonderful week so far. So today is the 17th day of Tammuz, which is a fast day in the Jewish calendar. It also ushers in the period called the 3 weeks of mourning and tragedy, in which we remember the ancient events that took place in ancient Israel, in the days of the first and second temples, where the sieges against the city of Jerusalem intensified, the enemy breached the city, and ultimately led to the destruction of the first and second temples, both occurring the 17th of Tammuz, and ultimately the destruction 3 weeks later on the 9th of Av. And so these are days of mourning, of intense tragedy and reflection. And ultimately the message during these days is that it's interesting how, these events happened 2,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, and yet we're still reliving them today. And I think the message is so important that as Jews, we don't just believe that things happened and occurred once upon a time. It's not just a lesson in history, but rather we are living the lessons eternally. They are the lessons of our past, but they also define our future. And therefore we abstain from food, even though it happened so long ago, because the lessons are still real and relevant to us today. And so the questions we have to ask ourselves today is, what were the underlying causes of the destruction, of the despair, the disunity that happened so many years ago? And how can we do the opposite today? How can we mend that in our own lives today? And there are so many ways potentially that we can think about that, especially during this time of the coronavirus, where people are distant from each other, physically isolated. Some people still isolated, and as it was currently seeing now with the closing down of Victoria. And so the issues are still relevant today. How can we increase our unity with each other, doing kindness, acting beautifully and generously towards one another? And hopefully then these days will be transformed from darkness to light, from tragedy to triumph. Shabbat Shalom.